thought so. All right. Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastic today. My name is Matt Walker. I'm producer on Batman Arkham Shadow. And as always, I'm here with...
And I'm Ryan Payton, the director of Batman Arkham Shadow.
Wait. Batman Arkham Shadow, this rings a bell. It's been a while.
Well, that's a game that we released almost a year ago to this day, which is why we're here to celebrate, do some behind the scenes, and we got another up for another award. We've got some fun stuff to go over. But first of all, yes, what is this video game we're talking about on the Batman Arkham Videos channel? Because it has been some time. And Arkham Shadow is a game that we released on, October 20th or 21st, depending on how you ask. And it was just designed to be a brand new entry into the Arkham franchise that allows you to become Batman like never before in VR, exclusive for the Quest 3 and the Quest 3S. And it allows you to become Batman in a way that goes even beyond what Rocksteady did with Arkham VR, which was an awesome game, right? But maybe 90 minutes, 2 hours in length. But with Arkham Shadow, we decided to put 4 years into it with our whole team at Camouflage and many other developers that we collaborated with to create just the ultimate Batman experience that translates all of the classic Arkham mechanics and story elements from the flat screen games, so you can do all the boss fights, the detective work, the fluid locomotion, and of course being able to punch across the room as Batman.
That's right. Well, and you figure, like you said, it's been exactly a year to the day that we're recording this, right? That we released the game. What are your memories from that?
I remember pretty clearly the day that it's the day before we planned to release the game, and being on a flight from Tokyo to San Francisco. We were going to be on Kind of Funny to celebrate the launch of Arkham Shadow, and in flight, it was when I was on my laptop and I was getting messages from the Batman Arkham Videos Discord just alerting me that the game released a day early, which I thought I was having a nightmare, really. It was just surreal to have the game out there. We weren't expecting it. And as we're watching people stream it on Twitch, on YouTube, and talk about it, and some of the reviews start coming in, by about 2 a.m., it's actually looking kind of good. And, we just kind of said, hey, why don't we just call it? Let's get to bed. We'll be fresh for the Kind of Funny event the next day. And it turned out to be not much as much of a crisis as we thought it was going to be. And that was the start, I think, of the beginning of such a celebratory season for Camouflage, going from the premature launch of the game all the way through winning Game of the Year for VR at the Game Awards to the DICE Awards. We're up for another award in December 9th at the XR Awards in Belgium. So that's going to be, I think, probably the last thing that we're up for.
Now, we have this great love fest for Batman Arkham Shadow.
Well, one of us does.
Well, one of us does. But you're not wearing the same t-shirt. What's going on? Can you explain this?
Well, it's kind of like Batman at the end of a long night. When we did our final episode of this, or we thought the final episode of our kind of dev Q&A with Batman Arkham Videos, I hung up the costume. I hung up the shirt, and so when we came around time for us to do this anniversary video, I thought, oh shoot, well I have a black shirt that I could use for today that's got a logo on it. Maybe not be Batman, but it is related to the fact that we are going to be talking about the behind the scenes of the game. That's going to be the main focus of this episode. It's just lifting the veil on cut content, cut audio, video, and also talking about some of the inspirations that we had behind the game. And I don't even know if the team knows this, but a big source of inspiration for me for any of the creative works that I'll do is one of my favorite bands called the Mars Volta, and including in Arkham Shadow, there's a song that plays that Cosmo Ginochi composed at the start of the Shadow Batman boss fight called Am I Living or Am I Dead? And the first 55 seconds of that tune or so are very inspired by the Mars Volta. In fact, there was at a certain point I was trying to reach out to the band to see if they would actually be willing to kind of collaborate on that. Didn't seem like clearly that message didn't go anywhere, but we still had fun kind of living in that space in terms of inspiration.
You plan on seeing them in concert or anything anytime soon?
Oh, as a matter of fact, yes. Next month with my brother, and they're going to be playing in Tacoma, Washington. So, my brother and I have been seeing it probably like 8 or 9 times. So I don't know if anybody's in connection with the band, let them know that we would, I'd love to say thank you to them for all the many years and opportunities of inspiration that we're able to put into the game.
All right. Well, as a thank you to the fans, just as you were talking about earlier, what we wanted to do here was actually talk about some of the behind the scenes stuff, some of the cut content that, maybe people have found somewhere somehow. Right.
That's right.
And kind of give some backstory on all that stuff. Right.
Well, I promise we're going to get into it in just a moment. But you just reminded me. One of the reasons why we're doing this is because the players may have found some of these elements that we're about to reveal today on this video by just digging through the code of the game,
Okay.
which is always nightmare fuel for game developers. Like, what are they going to find? To me, when I saw some of that going up on the Discord, I thought, hey, it's the game's out there. It's okay. And well, if anything, we can provide a little bit of context, right? That stuff is kind of already floating out there on the internet anyway.
Oh, it'd be a lot of fun. I mean, just look, as a game fan myself, I can tell you, I'm always really excited when I get to see the stuff that was on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
And kind of find out a little more about, like, well, why did that change?
Exactly.
And so that's what we want to do here, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, just buckle up. Hopefully people enjoy the behind the scenes here.
All right, well then, one of the things that I want to talk about is the Bronze Tiger mid-boss fight. Ryan Payton, do you remember this?
I do remember this one.
Yo, Malone. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Ben Turner. How come you got a nicer view than me, Fish?
Do you mind? It's been a really long day.
About to get longer. I'm taking your cell.
No disrespect, Turner, but you ain't exactly the first guy to threaten me today.
No threats. Just hard facts.
I just freed up a bed in the infirmary. It's yours if you want it.
Thanks, but I'll take the cell. Fight for it. Bare hands. Right now.
This thing hung in there for a long time.
It wasn't there a long time. We were so excited about Bronze Tiger, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, Bronze Tiger, it was a character that we held back and never really didn't reveal, I think, through ship. He appears in Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate, and, we really want him to be included in Arkham Shadow. And so he is included in Arkham Shadow, but there was, up until pretty close to the release of the game, you could actually fight with Bronze Tiger in this really cool sequence that was at the end of your first day in prison as matches. And just as you're about to go to your prison cell, we have Bronze Tiger there who wants to fight you. And it ends up becoming this actually pretty interesting battle that had interesting design issues along with it that I actually really liked. I know that you liked when we played it.
Oh, yeah, it was great. It was great. But yeah, I remember at the time, we were still kind of wondering, how are we going to do combat in a really satisfying way in a limited space, right? And as matches, so you're not necessarily going to have all your gadgets, right?
That's right. And it was just another new enemy unit for us to develop and make awesome. And I know that Troy Johnson and Ryan Darcy just didn't feel like we had enough time to elevate that fight up to the quality of other aspects of the game, even though it was cool. There was a lot of countering and parrying, right, that was happening in that fight. So we ended up making the tough decision, as it always is, to cut the content.
Come on, Malone. Finish me.
I don't kill.
Part of the deal we had to kind of make with ourselves is the user going to be able to tell that we cut this? Because after the fact, you could talk to Bronze Tiger and he refers to certain things and it's like kind of hinting, but it isn't explicit like we just fought the other day.
He says, sorry for the harsh welcome yesterday.
That's right. That's
We
right.
left that in there.
That's right.
Hey, Malone. Sorry again for the harsh welcome yesterday. Hope your second day in prison is going better than the first. Need anything?
And it turns out if you talk to him, he is kind of not the nicest guy to you. So we felt like that we can kind of get away with it. But that's just one of the things in game dev, right? When you decide to cut things, it's all going to still kind of tie together.
All right, next up. There were these gameplay prototypes we made. Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah. I mean, with every game, right? You got these gameplay prototypes, oftentimes never see the light of day. And yeah, some of the footage that we're excited to share is just, some of those early explorations in terms of how does the batarang going to feel? How does the grapple going to feel? How's combat going to feel? And we're always worried about showing those things, especially pre-release, because we don't want people to think like that's how the whole game is going to feel. But now that the game's out there, I think people have been really happy with how the mechanics and the combat functioned and played and sounded in the game, that we feel like it's okay to kind of reveal like how it all kind of came together.
It was nice seeing one of Falcone's flunkies get a taste of his own medicine.
Honestly, I got goosebumps. Like, legit. Bolton's the man.
Look, we had to figure out, how do you do a Predator? How do you do a Predator in VR? And so we had a whole prototype with a Predator, right?
Right. Yeah, because we borrowed a lot from Arkham VR, right? But Arkham VR didn't translate all of the Arkham franchise key features, right? Like Predator, like combat, and more kind of fluid locomotion that Batman does in the other Arkham titles. So yeah.
And we had one prototype that had traversal, and it had all these different gadgets we had, right? And we even had some gadgets that we prototyped that didn't get into the game.
We did have some gadgets. We had actually several that, including the line launcher, that was so cool. And the function to actually perform it was really, really smart and leaned into the core strengths of VR, right?
It really did.
Right, where you just put your hand up like this, and then the line launcher would just launch out of that kind of cone, and it just functions.
It felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good.
But why did we cut? Do you remember why we cut it? I remember.
Actually, I don't. Why?
Because it just scared the level designers, and rightfully so, because once you have the line launcher, you can go so many different areas. And just given the time and resources we had, we thought, for this title, we're already doing a lot. We've got plenty of gadgets, so unfortunately we had to let that one go to the wayside.
We had a lighting test prototype. Do you remember this one?
Absolutely. This was one of the things I really love working on in games, when you're just kind of creating a test scene that may never see the light of day. And for this one in particular, it was meant to test real-time lighting on the Quest 3. Yeah. Because at the time, we weren't convinced that we could even have real-time lighting or real-time shadows on a mobile chipset.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was convinced that we could do it based on many debates that we had internally about whether or not we could actually pull that off at 72 frames per second on the hardware. And it was all thanks to the Xbox 360 version of Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground Zeroes, and Phantom Pain, which we just looked at almost frame by frame.
Right.
How are they doing this on this hardware that's much weaker than the Quest 3?
And this was already a couple years in development, too.
This was just several years in development, right? And this is before we knew what the game was going to be called.
Yep.
And so as I'm thinking about it, thematically, Shadow made a lot of sense, the Jungian Shadow. And I thought, hey, Shadow's a big part of Batman, and shadows too. So not only shadows from games like Metal Gear Solid 5, but also Chronicles of Riddick, which was a really big source of inspiration for our game. The prison aspect of that game, the real-time shadows they had on it's not even 360. That's original Xbox.
Yeah.
So really fun. Those kind of conversations I love having with the team, which is I say, hey, these guys figure this out. Can we figure it out? And not only did our team figure it out, they did a great job. So yeah, this lighting test was the first time that we were really trying to bring everything together with the rain and the environment and different kind of VFX elements with the lighting as the star of the show as a proof of concept.
All right. So there was a bomb suit enemy. Do you remember this one?
I do. This was from me, I think, originally. In terms of, I was trying to think about how can we introduce a new enemy type into the Arkham franchise that was really built specifically to the core mechanics that only VR can provide. So in other words, when you're playing the flat screen games, you don't have a lot of the same level of fidelity as you would with a first-person VR title with motion controls. So with motion controls, you've got your gel launcher, and you can shoot it wherever you want, and you can do it really quickly and with like a high level of precision. And so I thought it would be great to have an enemy that where the players were required to shoot a gel blast on their back to explode this kind of protective shell they have around them that then opens them up to normal combat. That was the impetus of the idea, and it went pretty far. We modeled the character, we had different prototypes, we actually had destructible pillars, if you remember that in Editor.
Yeah.
And so you could put the gel on a pillar and have it destroy and knock, and it would also knock off the suit of the bomb enemies as well. I think it was one of those interesting cases in game dev where oftentimes you would cut something because it's not fun or you're running out of time. This was neither of those things. It was fun, and we did have time, but it just felt like we were introducing one too many things in that first proper dungeon of Arkham Shadow.
Yep.
So we had to make that really tough call of bomb suit guys got to go.
So we have this section of the game called the Walk of Fame, that we call the Walk of Fame, right? Where after the competency hearing, you walk in as matches, and basically all the prisoners are really excited, right?
Yeah, you're a hero to them.
Right? Now, I believe there were some cut lines there from Otis. Do you remember those?
So I remember that we had many ideas for how to make that whole sequence work properly, because it's an inverse of earlier on in the game that we would call internally the Walk of Shame.
Right.
That where you are progressing through the prison for the first time, and it's in a sequence, by the way. I know that's not the question, but was heavily inspired not only by the intro to Arkham Asylum, obviously,
right,
but the intro to another video game called Republic.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Heavy inspiration, including some of the vernacular that was used in that sequence. But yeah, back to the redux of it, the Walk of Fame as you return. we try to work out some ways of keeping the player engaged, because they've already gone through this once before.
Right.
And so, one of the ideas was to have Otis kind of give the sermon, right?
Our moment is now. Our moment is now. Our moment is now. All hail the return of our conquering hero. All hail the arrival of our king. Yes, the prophecy is true. The Rat King comes to us in the form of a prisoner. Malone, a fellow inmate. This is your king. This is your king.
Right, and I think what we found was there's already so much going on as you're walking, right? That just having Otis say all this stuff while you're doing that was kind of one too many things. And so, talking with the narrative guys and the audio guys, what we could recall was, we think we actually removed that because there was too much going on.
There was a lot going on, yeah.
Right, and one of the fun, stories about this too is that's actually part of some of the changes we made, because originally with the Walk of Fame, you were just going to walk to the gas chamber.
Yes, yeah, you were going to get escorted all the way directly to the gas chamber.
Right.
And as for players now know that you didn't make it that far. In fact, you don't even get into the proper cell block before Bolton's there to surprise you, knock you out, and then we can kind of fade to black, fade back in, and now you're at the gas chamber to speed things up. Because in one of there's like so many interesting aspects of game development, but we found that our team that would play Walk of Fame would get really fatigued by it. They say, "Oh, it's too long. But you always have to caveat that with, well, they play it all the time, right? So is it really too long, or does it deserve some cutting? But I think they were right on this in this instance. And so we actually had to kind of plaster over this wall, or this door that used to be right next to Matches' cell. So before, there used to be a connecting point right where currently is a wall. There was this door from Matches' cell, next to Matches' cell, that would take you all the way to the gas chamber. Right. And I really love that, because with the Metroidvania kind of interconnectedness.
Yeah.
But you can't have everything, and that was one of the cuts and changes we had to make, which I think was ultimately for the best.
Exactly. Now, one of the things that we talked about a lot, we had a lot of discussion about, was in Chapter 0, and you're in the theater, and you're fighting against somebody, you don't realize at the time how pivotal this is, but you're fighting against Dick Grayson.
That's right.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember it like it was yesterday.
And do you remember kind of what discussions we had around that?
It's maybe 60-second sequence, 90-second sequence. You know how many discussions that happened all along the way, and it was because of this interesting tension of what Batman needs to do at that time. He knows that like Leslie and Harvey are in danger. He needs to get going, right? The city's on fire, but he's got this guy in his way, and that's why we put the mask on Dick Grayson, and we want to have a little bit of a hint that this might be this beloved character, but Batman / Bruce Wayne doesn't know nor cares at this moment.
Right.
He's enraged.
Exactly.
And so, but there's interesting tension there, because there's so many fans within the studio that love Dick Grayson and want us to do right by him. So I do think that ultimately we struck a really great balance of that.
Right.
That was the end result of so many internal discussions. What do you remember about it?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, one of the things as we were talking about this that we were very adamant about was, in the lore, it's very clear that, Bruce was definitely there the night that Dick's parents.
Yeah, the Haley Circus. Yeah.
Right? So what are the implications for that? And Bruce punching Dick Grayson in the end, right?
Yes,
and so we ended up having things like, well, he's got a mask on, so you don't know that it's him until after.
That's right.
We knock him outside of the window, right? But then, I know one of the discussions we had was, well, hey, would he just leave him there? Like, or after beating him up and
I'm the devil on everybody's shoulder. Yes, he would.
Right.
He's got to go.
Right.
Yeah, I think ultimately just ended up being such a great moment for something that originally wasn't even supposed to be Dick Grayson. It was going to be an original character.
Right. That's right.
And I had this epiphany one morning. I was like, wait. And that just, I think that was one of the cool things we were able to add to the game.
Okay, so there are these Nakano lines that players found that would have been played in max security.
Yes. Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes. Oh, yes.
And that was another pretty late change from what I remember. You want to talk about that?
It was a story beat in the first dungeon in max security, where for the longest time in that first Predator space, you had to somehow rescue this undercover cop, Yamashiro and Nakano, And by ripping off the door cover of this locker that he was...
And that worked really well.
It did. It sounded
remember?
Silly on paper. It sounds like this is like an episode from Saved by the Bell. Like,
Felt so good.
But the team executes so well. It felt so good to do that. And while you're doing that, he doesn't know who's behind the door.
Right.
And he stabs you through the hand.
Right, exactly.
Which then is the DNA evidence that the cops needed to find later on.
Right.
Bastards, let me out! Unlock the door! Somebody! Batman! Whoa. Wait! I'm a cop. Undercover. Gordon put me in here to fight the Red King! And who is he? I don't know. But trying to get close to Falcone, see what he knows.
Falcone doesn't trust you. Does he know you're a cop?
I don't think so. But he knows something's off.
I'll deal with Falcone. You get back to your cell.
I gotta debrief with Gordon at our rendezvous. But first, I need a minute to recover from talking to you. Good luck with Falcone.
And it worked really well, but it had some pacing issues and some animation concerns, right? So
Exactly.
it was one of those scary moments in development where the team came back and said, we don't think we can do this at the quality we need to at the time. There's too many things going on in the scene. And that scene just it was already recorded.
Yep.
Yeah. Blown up into this whole other sequence with Falcone behind the wall with the limpet locks.
I want to say this was either during a review where you and design director Bill Green were talking over a call, but you guys figured out that, like, actually, you know what? If we change this beat, if we perhaps move this so that instead you get stabbed in chapter 1, we can then, leverage that Metroidvania layout in Max Security a lot better.
Yeah.
And pacing wise, it's going to work a lot better. And it really did.
Yeah. And it's one of those frequent reminders I think you need to have in the creative process that sometimes these changes that need to be made, they can result in even better content at the end of the day. And I think that was one of the cases.
Okay, now, some more content that people have found is some Mad Hatter related lines. And I was racking my brain over this one. At first I was thinking when we were in Solitary and you have like Black Mask and you have Firefly, we were trying to add different characters there, right? Because we really wanted to add in more Arkham characters if we could, even though we were really getting up to it in terms of being able to make content and get the game out.
That's right.
And I was thinking, was this actually part of that? Was Mad Hatter in Solitary? And I don't think that's the case. I think if you listen to the lines, he would have been actually in what we call RPG Town.
Yeah, he would have been in a prison where users can explore in Cell Block B, I remember.
Okay.
It was a designer who was just experimenting with ideas. That's why we couldn't find it in the script.
How many times I gotta tell you this, man? Nobody wants to join your little tea party. Got it?
Oh, my dear Dormouse. I'm sure your tune will change soon enough.
Let me make it clear. You ask me again, and I'ma smash that tea set into pieces.
I see. Well, I'll be sure to keep that in mind.
Shit, missed breakfast again. And it was biscuits and gravy day.
Why, my dear Dormouse, I'm more than happy to share my pastries with you over a cup of tea and a conversation.
I'll take the tea, but let's skip the conversation. Talking with you kinda weirds me out.
Wonderful. Oh, yes. If you run across my Alice, do let her know that I've saved her a cup.
On the flip side, though, we were able to get so much stuff into the game at the last second, such as these echoes from, like, Penguin, for example, where I just wrote Nolan North and said, hey, can you do us a solid here? And he did. He did a great job. So we were just putting so much of those Easter eggs in the game at the last second, and unfortunately, the Mad Hatter one just didn't make the cut.
Right. All right, here's one that I'm really excited about because we haven't had a chance to talk about this up until now. There's this line from Leslie that players found.
Mm-hmm.
Remember this at all?
Well, I saw the line that leaked, or the sequence, right?
You were really excited about the idea of having kind of at least multiple endings, maybe good ending, bad ending kind of thing, depending on different dialogue choices that you made in RPG Town.
That's right.
And at the same time, you also were kind of inspired by Metal Gear to have these like post-ending, like at the end of the credits, audio endings. Right?
Yeah.
And so we had, I believe, recorded 2 different versions of this Leslie call that you get.
Okay, yes, this is
right. And so this might be like the bad ending.
I think you're right.
Guess we keep missing each other, Bruce. I fell asleep early last night. Dreamed you and Harvey and I were back at the crisis center, sitting in that big bay window, reading to each other, healing. I woke up and saw the real world outside my window and felt an incredible sadness. Youth centers aren't enough today. The rot's too deep. Gotham needs stronger medicine. An asylum. Maybe even that's not enough. Call when you can.
And yeah, we had this whole system that Paul Alexander, poor guy, had to build that had different weights for the different dialogue selections that players had made throughout the game to indicate whether or not they were aligned with the growth that Bruce was going to have over the course of the game or misaligned, right? And I remember that was just one of those ongoing debates over the course of development, as it was with Iron Man VR and as it was with Republic, with essentially the same idea. And I thought maybe a third time was going to be the charm, but no, it ended up getting kind of scoped down. Right. And we still do some things, I think, that influence the game based on the players' dialogue options, like we do with Iron Man and Republic, but never to the extent that I would want. But hey, that's such a game development.
All right, now it's time for behind-the-scenes rapid fire, Ryan Payton.
Okay.
Beacon Hotel elevator crashing down when you use it for the first time while going after Strike.
So I don't remember. That was how it was for the longest time. Did we ship with that? Where when Batman first goes into the elevator in the Beacon Hotel, it goes down, and it goes doom, 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 and it has like this kind of scary...
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a jump scare.
Yeah.
Barbara's move out of the way exchange.
Yes, so we had a lot of fun. And I think it made its way into the final version of the game, which is, when you first meet Barbara in the game, you can control her to an extent where she has to leave out of the store, and you can just kind of stand in her way.
Yes.
Move. Step aside, please. You want me to leave, so move. Okay. I'll just stand here all night with you and let Gotham perish. The blood of an entire city is on your hands, Batman.
That was a really fun, difficult, but really fun sequence. In fact, one other quick anecdote about that, I don't know if you remember this, but there were a lot of design problems with that sequence, as there are a lot of design challenges with just developing for VR. The possibility space is much deeper than a lot of games. The player could be here, they could be doing this, there's motion controllers here and there. It's really hard to make the player be an active participant in a story sequence oftentimes. And in this one, it just had a lot of interesting challenges, and the team really wanted to cut the sequence. It was part of our vertical slice. It was working.
Oh, so good.
People loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
Her acting is great.
It was so good. And so it was one of those things where we've talked about how we've just had to cut, and sometimes it's for the best. Sometimes, as director, you have to protect. And I protected this scene with my life.
Yes.
And ultimately, I think it turned out pretty well, and we had this fun kind of sequence where it's like, right, get out of the way, Mr. Batman.
Interactable props that we removed.
This one, why don't you take it? Because this one I know is near and dear to you.
I'm really excited about this, right? Exactly. Because we had all these really great interactable props that our team made, all kinds of random things. Our buddy Steve Norman in marketing even asked us hey, is there a way you could make an achievement or something where you have to pick up a pizza at the beginning of the game, and you have to, if you carry it all the way to the end of the game, then we give you an achievement or something, right? We talked about doing that.
Yeah, and I really generally try to support that, but it just has lots and lots of different
obviously
problems, right?
And we ended up removing a lot of these, right? Because from what I recall, I believe we made the design decision that it's not adding to the game, and that really a good Arkham game really focuses you on what's important.
Yeah, you can argue not only just Arkham games, but the types of games I think that we like to play, and no disrespect to the simulation VR games where you can interact with everything and it's all physics based, and there was a lot of fun to be had there. But yeah, the Arkham titles aren't really built for that, right? And what we found through a lot of playtesting is that players would go through the game and they'd just be so enamored with just interacting with everything. Oh, what if I threw this bottle at this wall and then the glass shatters and I have this piece of glass here and I can draw on the wall, and they're just not playing the game. And it can be really distracting. And so even though we wanted to say yes to the player, we had these really interesting and tough design debates, right, about how the interactable props that we do have in the world need to have some degree of intentionality behind them, right?
Cut rat dialogue. What can you remember about this?
We cut a lot of dialogue from the game, in part. Why, Matt Walker?
Well, there was this specific point in development where we were really starting to lock down all the lines that we had written, right? And writers, we especially when you all get along really well, you like to be funny. We had a lot of comedic lines in the game.
We did,
right? And so our lead writer Brennan said, "Hey guys, we kind of need to pull back on some of this. We can't have as much comedy in this game."
Man, I love being a rat. Going rat places, doing rat things, eating rat food. Well, I mean, we eat human food, but we do make little squeaky noises sometimes, for dramatic effect.
Yeah, which I thought was the appropriate move. Brendan was usually right about those kinds of things. But then he was supportive of us adding all these additional lines of dialogue to the Matt Walker character, who was anything but serious.
Well, that's true. But admittedly, that voice was done by Josh Keaton, one of the greatest voice actors ever.
Yeah, he is awesome. He owned it, and so he owned it so well that we decided to call him back to do additional lines.
That's right.
Lines of dialogue from Matt Walker for the DLC. So,
what can you tell me about cut game overs?
Well, I don't know how much I can tell you about the cut game over sequences, because this is another one of those instances of game development that everything was happening so fast. And we wanted to make sure that the game had an appropriate amount of game over sequences. Right. So it was up there with the other Arkham titles. And I remember one afternoon, I just did all the research, actually on Batman Arkham Video's channel, looking at his amazing videos where he will show you all of the different game over sequences for each game that he had documented. And I have a spreadsheet open, and I'm counting how many they have per game, per character. And I wanted to make sure that even though if we couldn't beat Arkham Knight in terms of the breadth of and the length of the different game over sequences, that we're competitive with the other Arkham titles. And that was the baseline for it. And then we just tried to get as many of those into the game as we could, right?
Oh, exactly. It wasn't just game overs either, right? I mean, you were very specific that look, there's going to be expectations from Arkham fans that there's a certain number of collectibles, that there's a certain number of lines, that there's going to be a certain number of game overs, right? And so, I remember I actually went into the PC game files of the Arkham games and found the strings in that. That's right. Okay, great. All right, well, based on this, how we doing?
Yeah, good deal. Yeah, that's so smart of you.
So, okay, and it seems like people find at least one cut game over.
Yeah, another prize. Yeah.
Right? Are there chances that we're going to be able to get that in there at some point?
Well, unfortunately, we don't want to end on a bummer, but we really did truly wrap up game development on Arkham Shadow back in February with the Game of the Year update.
That's right.
And that was really the last call for, okay, any kind of cut content or things we want to add to the game and bugs we want to fix and tuning to the game that players were requesting. That was our chance to do it. And outside of any kind of critical bug fixes, we really do have, unfortunately, Arkham Shadow in the rearview mirror, right, as we kind of move forward with what Camouflage needs to do next.
Rest up, friend. We start bright and early tomorrow. Get your hands off me, Boy Scout.
That's it for Arkham Shadow, and that's also it for this video. But that doesn't mean that there's not going to be some really great VR content coming out.
That's true. I mean, there's a lot of people that bought the MetaQuest 3 or MetaQuest 3S to play Arkham Shadow, which we greatly appreciate.
We do.
And the good news is there's been a lot of good content that came out this year and even for the rest of this year. So we just want to spend a minute or two just kind of highlighting some of that terrific content.
Exactly.
Including Ghost Town, which is a game that came out earlier this year from our friends at Fireproof Games that is really worth checking out. It's got this nice kind of 90s horror vibe to it. It looks terrific in the headset. It's just really, really well designed. It's really worth checking out.
How about Thief Legacy of Shadow?
So that one, I like the title, by the way. It's great. I'll put a shadow on the title. That one, I'm a big Thief fan, big fan of the developer Vertigo. They don't have a release date for that yet. They're saying by the end of this year, so I'm keeping a close eye on that one.
And I mean, my personal favorite on this list, and for the rest of the year here, just personally, Luminous Arise.
Yes, unfortunately, that one's not going to come into Quest 3 this year, but it is coming to PC VR and to PlayStation VR 2. And from friend of the show, Mark McDonald and the crew over at Enhanced Games, Music-Sun, and that whole amazing crew they have over there. Yeah, so it's a follow-up to Tetris Effect, which is a beautiful game and also amazing in VR on Quest 3. And now they have their next iteration, which is Luminous Arise.
Oh, man. And then, of course, the big one from Meta,
That's the big one, the big first-party title for the year.
Deadpool VR.
Deadpool VR coming on November 18th, so just right around the corner from our development friends, family members within Meta Twisted Pixel.
That's right.
So, and yeah, Steve Norman's behind that title as well from a marketing perspective. So, yeah, a lot of love and passion going into that game as well. So we're all looking forward to seeing, when Deadpool hits it's good later, just in a few weeks, actually.
And that's it. That's all I got on my list, Ryan. You got any final thoughts?
Oh, we just want to, again, thank everybody for their warm messages we've been receiving all day today, congratulating us on the 1-year anniversary of Arkham Shadow. This has been an incredible journey for us, and I feel like we talk about it oftentimes when we try to close out the previous videos as well. But this game was a big part of our lives, and we're really proud of it. And we just really appreciate everybody's interest in this title, and hopefully this behind the scenes of what went into the game, what could have been in there, why things were changed, just adds just a degree of enjoyment for you as you maybe play through the game again. And we're also, as always, very honored to be on this channel. So thanks to Batman Arkham Videos for hosting us, and for our crew here within Meta at the Tokyo office, allowing us to borrow their stage, and they always do just a great job with the audio visuals. So with that, Matt Walker, do you have any kind of closing statements, or should we just get back to work?
I think you put it perfectly, buddy.
All right, let's get back to work.